Are you one of those mature hombres that's a little long in the tooth that thinks that they don't make them like they used to? Well, that's how me and my buddy Marco think about the GNS480. It's a good unit. Unfortunately, every so often, if you see this screen, you're going to have to replace the battery. And this is the battery right here. This is an LS17330. And then there's different types. I happen to get this one, which is the FL, which stands for fantastic leads. There are some that are just bare, which I would not get. And there's also some with soldering tabs, which after second thought, I should have probably got that one. Would have been a little easier. I'm going to have to splice these wires in, no big deal. So I'm going to take this sucker apart on the request of my buddy Marco, since at some point in the future he'll have to do the same thing. And I'm going to replace this battery in this unit. There are 7 screws on one side of the case, which is split kind of unevenly. 7 screws on the other side of the case that I'm going to remove. But first I'm going to take the faceplate off. It has 2 screws on the top, 2 screws on each side, and then 3 screws on the bottom for a total of 9 screws. So pretty much all you need is any type of smaller screwdriver. You will need something to pry the battery out with because it's in a little pocket. The battery sits on the bottom side on the right about in here. So that is exactly where we're going to drill. Actually, second thought, why don't we just take the screws out, do it the old-fashioned way. No need for theatric. Now I have removed the compact flash card, and I will start taking these screws out, and I will speed this video up so you don't have to watch the mundaneness of screw removal. There's 2 on the side, 2 on the top, 2 on the right side, and 3 on the bottom. I've made up these little baggies for the different screws, for the front plate, and then each of the back plates. Trying to be organized, turning over a new leaf. Okay. Very carefully and gently pry this off, wiggling it. I know there's a connector underneath there. As you can see, there's the connector. I can't find my ground strap for my hand, so I am grounding and equalizing my potential on this guy every so often. Alright, so the first one we're going to do is this right side. Again, 7 screws. There's 2, 3, 4. Sorry, that was a little off camera. 5, 6, and 7. Again, this is the right side right here. This is the shorter of the 2 halves. And as loath as I am to cut this warranty label, I'm just going to go ahead and do it. Voila. So in just a little bit ago with the drill, I was goofing around talking about being melodramatic. And I obviously have some drama going on here. As you can see, the burnt marks here on the inside of this casing, which kind of surprised me when I took it off. And then I don't know if you can see right over in here, but this area right here, these 4 pads is where these capacitors, if you can see those, I believe they're capacitors. They're either resistors or capacitors. I think they're capacitors. I just got off the phone with Chris Short, and I was kind of telling him my tale of woe, and I do have a docking station for this unit, and it's been in the docking station many times, and recently, probably 20-30 times I've fired it up and I haven't had an issue. But again, when I was talking to Chris Short from Short Tronics, he's the guy that is the guru on these GNS480s as far as fixing them up. A lot of people send their units to Chris Short to swap out not just these, but all the other older style capacitors that, as he was telling me, at any moment you can fire these things up or they can be sitting on a shelf and these capacitors will just literally blow up in their own small way. And that's when you let the smoke out. So I sent him some pictures, talked to him, and he's 99% sure that this is fully correctable, fixable. Now I was going to wait. I was just going to do the battery now. And the reason why I'm actually doing the battery now is because I'm having an issue getting this to seat inside of the mounting tube. And so once I got it into the mounting tube, I didn't really honestly want to have to take it back out to mess around with the battery. So I was just going to do that now. I've only had maybe 2 enunciations as far as the warning screens that I showed you earlier about the battery, and I just happened to catch one on camera. Ever since, I've probably started this thing up 20-30 times and I haven't seen that battery warning, but I obviously knew that it was there from the first or second time. First few times, I should say, that I started it up. So I'm going to get on with this battery replacement, and then if need be, when I send this out to Chris Short, he can check my work, and if it's nasty and gnarly, he can clean it up or put a new battery in. So let's continue on. Again, I'll show you. I don't think I showed you the actual pins on the other side of the faceplate, so I'm going to show you those really quickly. And we'll start on the top here. Again, the battery's on the bottom. So we have 7 screws on the top. We'll start taking those out. And as before, I will speed up the video. I will note that these 2 screws are short and they're also black. And this was pointed out in one of the few videos that are out there on replacing this battery. And I'll give a shout out to Life is Short DIY. I will link his video in the description of this video. And he does a pretty good job of showing how to swap this battery out. Hopefully we don't find any more of those blown capacitors. And here's number 7. I'll put these in a bag and we'll carefully take this thing off. Just sliding it straight aft. Make sure I don't have anything caught over here. Again, this is where the battery is. No scorch marks inside of this guy, thankfully. I will check this over quickly. See if we have any other capacitors or anything that's wonky. Again, that's the board right there where those 2 capacitors blew up and scorched the case. And then over here looks pretty good. Now, because those things were obviously in that condition for quite some time, and they're actually off of the board, I did ask Chris what his thoughts were about firing up this unit, just to A, ensure that it fired up, and B, to check the battery install. And which I thought he would probably say that, he said, yeah, let's just hold off, which is fine. That was kind of my thought as well. Just wanted to double check. So this has some Velcro in here. Again, watching the Life is Short DIY video, I noted that the rough side of the Velcro was on the battery. Mine might be different, but I went ahead and threw Velcro on there just to lean forward as best as I could. So we'll pop this battery out. It's got padding on this side. Let me get out of the way of the camera. This side, and this side is padding, and then over here we have Velcro. Yeah, and as this day is going, the Velcro is reversed on this. So I thought I saw in Life is Short DIY, his video, that was the rough Velcro. This is the smooth fuzzy stuff, so I'm going to go out and swap that out in the shop. But here's the battery. The red lead is closest to the front of the unit. It's a 4-pin connector, and it's got a red and black wire on there, and it should come off. So there you can see it right there. The reason why I pulled that off specifically is because, again, I'm going to cut the leads and I've got to solder in the new battery. I'm going to try to get it about the same length. But I'm going to pause this video and put the right Velcro on my battery. So that's sometimes what happens when you lean ahead, right? Get bit. Okay, the Velcro is swapped. Nice fuzzy Velcro on there. I'm going to go ahead and remove this padding from the old battery. Set that over there. Then there's a little bit of obviously the battery is round, but this battery is D-shaped. So I'm going to go ahead and cut into that. Maybe I can repurpose it. I don't think so. I think it's probably like some type of resin or glue or something that's making that shape, and I'm not going to take the time to make anything up like that. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that, but that is definitely like a resin that's making this flat plate. That is interesting that the contact of that wire seems to be right there. Huh. All right, while we're at it, one at a time, just in case there's some juice left in there, I'm going to go ahead and cut these leads. My thought on soldering these leads up is just to ensure that I don't get any type of issue with my soldering or anything like that. I'm going to go ahead and cut one end, solder it up on that end, and then on the far end, solder it up on that end, and keep my splices apart from each other, just as an added measure of safety. Right about here. We'll also measure this, get a little bit of the original length of those twisted wires. Not a huge deal, but just kind of get them as close as possible. So that's about the right length right there. I don't remember the name of it, but I'm going to do a little bit of a kind of a fancier connection, if you will. Oh. It pulled it completely off. Interesting. No worries, we're going to use heat shrink. Alright, do this guy. Sorry if I'm off camera, I'm trying to obviously focus. So I like to tease out 3, 4, sometimes 5 wires. I'll twist it. Get my cheap little helping hands here. I'm twisting the other ends too. And then, this wire's so thin. And then what I like to do is cut that off, measure out. So we're going to need a little bit more. I'll probably just put the whole thing on here just for a little bit of added oomph. So I'm going to add my heat shrink to this. Then I'm going to twist these wires together, and that pigtail, I wrap that around. And again, I know there's a name for this, but I don't remember what it is. So got our heat shrink on there. Gonna go ahead and power up the soldering iron station, but that's what I'm going to be soldering. Going to try to reach around the camera. All right, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and do the other side off camera and get back. You know what soldering is, and we'll just get her done. We have both the black and the red wires soldered, twisted, keeping with the somewhat aesthetically pleasing red and black barber pole look. So I'm now going to reinsert, first by hand if I can, the 4-pin connector. It's kind of hard to see down in there. Okay, so that pin is inside. Now we're going to go ahead and put the battery in. Pushing the red wire over just a hair just to make sure that it's plenty of room when I put the cover back on. So there it is. Back in place. Got the Velcro in there, got the padding in there. Okay, so now we're going to put the left side cover on. Just slide it on from the end. I don't know if you saw that or not. I wasn't looking at the camera, but this just slides on like I took it off. It slides on from the aft end. Now it's just reverse of what we did before, putting the 7 screws on where the baggie comes in handy. Left side screws. Remembering that these 2 screws on the side are the shorter black screws. Again, I apologize for the light. Okay, so that's the 7 screws on the left side holding that. We're going to put the right side on. Grab our baggie for the right screws. That was the narrower right casing with the 7 screws put back together, put on, so the casing is complete. I'm going to stand this up. I don't have it pressed on yet. I've got it aligned. Very gently but firmly press the faceplate back onto the unit. Grabbing the faceplate screw bag. I'm not tightening these screws down yet all the way. And now I'll start tightening these screws, knowing that the other ones are in place. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this unit is back together. Next up, I'll be sending this to Chris Short. Again, this is unplanned. I'll have to figure out what I'm going to be doing for my GPS. As far as the connections, I'm not really worried about not having a GPS, since this is mainly for IFR. So I'm not worried about having it in my Long-EZ starting off. It's just the cross connections of the EFIS looking for it that I'm going to have to figure that out in the meantime while this is gone, if I get to that point. But that's it. Give you a shot with the light on it. This unit is put back together. Has a new battery in there, and then again, this is going off to Chris Short. Hey, thanks for watching. Cheers.